There are things that nobody warns you about before you move to Australia. Not in any travel videos, not in like online forums, not even Australians themselves. I was married to an Aussie before I even moved here. But when you grow up in the UK and suddenly live on the other side of the planet, you start clocking these things that feel absolutely unreal. Like you're reacting to it like it's the most amazing thing ever, and everyone else around you is like, why are you staring at that thing, mate, you weirdo? And what surprised me the most is how quickly you get used to these things when you start living here. So in this video today, I'm going to give you the quick fire list of the 13 things that I had never seen in my entire life until I moved to Australia. Let's get started. And hey mate, welcome back. If you're new here, I'm Sam, a British actor documenting my journey of rebuilding life here in beautiful Australia. Number 1, 10 cents for bottle recycling. Also, please bear in mind, I live in Queensland. Things can vary state by state. So I remember buying a can of fizzy pop here, and on the bottle or the can, it shows you that if you return this at the correct place, you get a 10-cent refund. Back in the UK, recycling is just a moral exercise. If you don't do it, you're just riddled with guilt. So when I first saw this, I thought this was brilliant. I was like, right, Australia is living in the future, especially where I'm from, Cheltenham. They give you really small buckets. I think they're really small for your recycling. You get to the end of the week and none of it fits in there. Whereas in Queensland, you've got massive wheelie bins. But the other benefit is that you reduce the amount of recycling you put into your recycling bin, because you can keep a big bucket of all these 10-cent cans and bottles in your garage or somewhere like that. And then at the end of the year, you can cash them in. It's brilliant. And I just had a look online. There's an app for it. You can even book a home collection in Queensland, which is fantastic. And if you're enjoying this video at all whatsoever, hit that like button. It really helps. Number 2, red-bellied black snakes. I was told by Queenslanders, surprisingly, you'll probably never see a snake. And if you do, you'd be alright. Which felt really reassuring right up until I went for a walk in the countryside in Queensland and I see a red-bellied black snake. I kind of stopped very far away. I don't know why, because the roads are so massive here. And I thought, oh my word, I'm seeing my first ever snake in Australia. I didn't, scream. I didn't run away. I just thought, oh, wow, red-bellied black snake. That's new. And I kept walking. Number 3, Australian shepherds. Oh my gosh, this one broke my brain. And I adore dogs. I really do. My brother has a gorgeous border collie. The classic black and white one. He's called Arlo, and he is absolutely mental. He's only like a year and a bit old. But then I moved to Australia, walking down my local street to get a coffee, and I see this gorgeous, what looks like a border collie, but they're brown. They're this gorgeous golden light brown colour with white patches. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Maddie was with me and she's like, yeah, this is an Australian shepherd. And I'm like, wow, they really look like British border collies, but like, I don't want to say the improved version, but the prettier version maybe. Nah, I still love a British border collie. And I know they're different breeds of dog, I know they are, but Arlo being absolutely mental, it's made me realise, are Australian shepherds a bit more chilled out? Because whenever I see them out and about, they just seem a bit more chill. They just seem a bit more, mate, I'm not going to embarrass myself by going crazy in front of you. But this next one, I knew existed here, but I didn't know how good it was, which is number 4, ceiling fans that actually work. I used to think ceiling fans were rubbish. I thought they were pretty weak because very lucky enough to go on some childhood holidays to places like Spain, for example. Back then when I was a kid, I don't want to sound too old, but there was an aircon and there would be these rickety old ceiling fans in the hotel room, and I'd turn it on. I'd be absolutely sweating as a 10-year-old British boy who is not used to like 35-degree heat, and the ceiling fan just would do nothing. That's when I sort of immortalised in my brain, ceiling fans are bad, they're rubbish. And then I come to Australia and Maddie's like, oh, you're a bit hot, do you want the ceiling fan on? I thought, I mean, it's not going to do anything, but yeah, do what you like. And it was super powerful. It was like a turbo jet. Might be an exaggeration, but I was so surprised at how powerful the ceiling fans are in Australia. Aussies are like, we need it to work. And then you go to somewhere like Darwin, where it's even hotter. Like, you need a good ceiling fan in Australia. And just a quick one, I noticed in my YouTube analytics lately that over 87% of you who regularly watch these videos aren't yet subscribed. So if you are enjoying this at all whatsoever, consider hitting that subscribe button. Why not? Let's get on to number 5, possums. In the UK, if you found a possum, it would be a national headline. People be like, what animal is this? Here, they're just part of your local neighbours, and they're bloody noisy ones too. The first time I encountered a possum wasn't visually, it was by hearing the loud crash of it falling on my in-laws' shed. A lot of Aussies find them an absolute nuisance because, especially if you grow your own fruit and veg at home, they just demolish it. They're like, oh yes, little nibbly garden for me, I'll be having a bit of that. My wife was pouring her heart and soul into growing this red capsicum plant, and she was working really hard on keeping it alive. And there was this little green bell pepper growing, and she was like, oh my gosh, it's working. And then a few days later, we wake up and we see that it's gone. Not only that, but 2 more days later, every leaf off the plant is gone, bar one. This possum had obviously come along and said, oh, you growing a little capsicum? You working hard on that? Let me eat that. If they weren't so cute, I would be more annoyed. But the awe and wonder didn't stop there. Number 6 is the most amazing sunsets. I love the UK countryside. I love summertime in the UK. We have some pretty golden and gorgeous sunsets, right? But I came to Australia. Not only did the sky go from like standard cinema screen to like IMAX cinema screen, that's how it felt. It kind of expanded right in front of my eyes. I was like, wow, the sky is huge here. Scientists, please let me know why this is. But then I saw my first Aussie sunset, and you see, it's not just orange. I will show you some B-roll right now of some of the sunsets here, but they do not do it justice. You gotta go see an Aussie sunset for yourself. And honestly, it is one of the most impactful things I experienced moving to Australia. I didn't realise that the sky, for example, could look different in other countries. I thought we're all on the same planet, surely it's all the same. Just getting to experience this beautiful creation is amazing. And it started to make me wonder why I rush through my evenings all the time. This kind of brings me on to number 7, the giant bats. The first time I experienced giant bats is when my wife and I, we took a little trip to Melbourne, and we went to the outdoor cinema in the Botanical Gardens, and we were lying on the grass watching the movie. And I saw, as the sun was starting to set, these giant birds flying past. No, they're not birds. I look at their wing shape, they're bats. And I'm like, Maddie, look at it, there's bats. And she's like, yeah, mate, welcome to Australia. And I'm like, is Queensland like that? And it's so cool. I feel like my inner Bruce Wayne is coming out. I feel like every guy wants to be like Batman. Do you know what else is really cool? And this is my childhood dream. Number 8. Having a pool in your back garden. Of course, this isn't typical in Australia. I know people will want to comment, Sam, don't sell this idea that, you move to Queensland, Australia, and you get a pool, everyone gets one. That's not what I'm trying to say at all, but you'll literally see as you fly over Brisbane into Brisbane Airport, lots of the suburban houses have gorgeous turquoise pools. And where I'm from, having a pool meant you were very wealthy, because not only is it just such an unnecessary thing in the UK, because we have like 3 weeks of hot weather and then it's cold for the rest of the year. Occasionally I've been to someone's house and they have a pool here, and I'm like, mate, that's cool. That's really cool. And what I found is that with some of the older generation Aussies, buying a house with a pool was much easier to do, and these days it would be very difficult. And being able to see pools around, even if you don't have one yourself, is just a cool vibe. I feel like I'm in Miami or something like that. Maybe I sound like a massive tourist right now, but the other really cool thing I love about Australia is number 9, the exotic fruit trees. Growing a banana tree or a mango tree or a passion fruit in the UK is incomprehensible to me. Then I moved to Australia, not even thinking about, yes, I'm in a more exotic and hotter climate, but seeing literal banana trees and pineapples growing out of the ground. And I'll be going on a run and I'll be running under mango trees, usually with loads of like partly eaten mangoes kind of rotting on the pavement because the possums have been at them. It feels like a privilege. You can grow these sorts of, to me, really exotic fruits and vegetables because, most of the time in the UK, buying a mango from Asda, it doesn't taste great. But then you try a freshly grown one off a tree and it tastes incredible because it's been made with love. And I started wondering what else is, considered normal here in Australia that would be completely foreign in the UK. And that is number 10. Chicken salt. I've been to Chippies before in Brisbane and I've asked for salt and vinegar and they won't look at me like I'm crazy or anything, but they'll say we don't do vinegar here. And I'm like, oh mate. Now this isn't true for every chippy in Australia. There's lots that do vinegar, but what is something you'll probably find almost anywhere is chicken salt. And it is salt, as you can imagine, flavored with a sort of artificial chicken seasoning, but it doesn't taste artificial, if you know what I mean. And I must admit, it is a great improvement on normal salt. On chips, it just, it gives them so much more flavour. But this is not something I've ever seen in the UK. I feel like chicken salt is iconically Australian. When my wife and I were living in Japan, where we met, her Aussie parents would send her chicken salt in the mail. But I love that there's this like cultural loyalty to a type of salt that you put on your chips. It's so funny. Australians are very patriotic, I found, about certain things like chicken salt. It's fantastic. The other thing that I'd never seen before, apart from in America, is number 11, giant roads and motorways. The UK is quite well known for having very skinny roads. You have to like really scrape by each other and like go onto the pavement sometimes. It gets hairy. Whereas in Australia, the roads are just so wide. Cars can park on the road, both sides of the road, right? And there can still be enough room for 2 cars to pass each other. It's amazing. And don't get me started on the motorways. They are so wide and so spacious. I mean, you kind of need it in Queensland because there's a lot of people who drive 4-wheel drives with all the accessories on them. So they need their room. And it kind of makes sense why they're so big as well, especially as long road trips here aren't uncommon. So you kind of need good quality, big spacious roads to make the trip not only easier, but also safer. And it feels like there's less pressure. Whereas in the UK, you really have to have your eyes on your wing mirrors at all times, right? Because there is so much room for error. But moving on to something a little bit more different, number 12, pelicans. I'm going for my first ever run along the Brisbane River and I see this massive animal, bird. It's a pelican, and I thought, oh my word, Pixar nailed what pelicans are like in Finding Nemo. Fantastic. Annie spoke to me with an Aussie accent. They don't perform, they're just bobbing along the Brisbane River. They're just going about their day. They're trying to get a fish or two. That's what they're looking for. A lot of people will tell you, mate, it's not different here. They've got fish and chip shops. How different can it be? Nah, it's different here, and it's awesome. Number 13, one of my favourite things, acai bowls. I had never seen an acai bowl until I met my Aussie wife, and she made one for me, and I thought, this is delicious. It's like a smoothie in a bowl, but better. But because it's made from, the acai berry, which is technically a superfood, and you feel absolutely amazing afterwards. It's not the most filling thing. I must admit, after an acai bowl, I'm still quite peckish, but I don't know if that's because I'm, currently training for a marathon. You can not only get one made for you at your favourite brunch spot, they top them with like delicious fruits, types of granola, honey, you can have peanut butter. I love peanut butter on it. But you can also go into your local supermarket like Coles or Woolies and you can buy the frozen packets of it. They're not too expensive when you get them on sale. And just between you and me, alright, if you want the best place to get an acai bowl in Brisbane, I'd highly recommend Kith and Chow. Fantastic brunch spot, the loveliest people, and their acai bowls are delicious. And if you want to keep the adventure going, then go watch this video here about the 12 other Aussie things that I'd never seen in my whole entire life before when I first moved here. I'll see you over there. Thanks for watching to the end, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button. See you in the next one. Bye.